Hello, in this lesson we're going to look at how we can expand brackets. We're going to start with some revision and get onto some more difficult stuff. First we're going to look at what the distributive law is. Now you may or may not have heard of this before. The distributive law is essentially this property that lets us expand brackets by multiplying each individual term in the brackets by the number outside. So we can multiply our b and a together, which gives us ab, and then add the multiplication of the second term and our a, so we get the ac. Here we have an example, and you'll have seen things like this. First we have our 3 and our 2 multiplied, so we get 6, and then we multiply 3 and a. So we're going to get plus 3a. Hopefully that's something familiar to you. We could also do this question visually, talking about areas. So if we consider this as our height, so you can see that we've got 3 here as the height of this rectangle, and then we have our 2 plus a as the width. So we've got 2 plus a along here. Now we can work out what the total area is, and that's going to give us the answer of the question. So if we go for our height of 3 times our width of 2 for this first rectangle here, we're going to get an area of 6. So you can put 6 there. For the second rectangle, we've got a height of a and a height of 3 and a width of a. So we're going to multiply a and 3, and we're going to get 3a. Which, if we then add them together, 6 plus 3a is the total area, which is the answer up there. You don't need to work it out this way. You can work it out the previous way, but I'll show you why we've been doing it this way now. So it can be helpful when we have more terms in our in our brackets, to draw it out and work out the areas. So here you can see we have 2 plus a, and this is our height now, but we've split the 2 and the a into 2 parts. And we have our width of 3 plus b, and that's still across there. Now we can find the area of each individual part. So we have our height of 2 and width of 3, which is going to give us a 6, a height of a and a width of 3, which is 3a, 2 and b, and then a and b. And that gives us all of the answers, all of the areas of each individual rectangle. To find the total, we need to add them together. So we get 6 plus 3a plus 2b, plus 3a plus 2b plus ab. And that would be the total area, or in other words, it would be the expansion up here. So this equals this one here. So if you want to expand these sort of brackets, you can do it. You can also expand brackets using FOIL, and FOIL is just an abbreviation that helps us remember the steps involved. So the first is our f, which is looking at the first term in both brackets. And here I've highlighted them, so we have a and c. So that's our first term in each bracket. And we multiply them together, and we're going to get ac down here. I like to draw arrows, so I'm going to put those arrows in there too. So we've multiplied a and c. Next we have our outside terms. So that's going to be our a and our d. So it's the outside terms in each brackets. We get ad down the bottom. Now we're finished with all of our a's, and we're going to go to our inside terms. So we're looking at our b times c, which gives us bc, and then finally our last terms, which are the b and the d. We can work it out using the area method of the previous slide, but it is very good if we can work it out using FOIL. We'll save a lot of time, and it's a skill that we need to be able to develop. Okay, so now we have some examples that we'll go through. These are like some of the simple examples that you'll get. There's also much more difficult ones, but we'll look at them in the next coming lessons. So for the first one, we have our FOIL used underneath. So you can see I've gone 2 times 3, which gives us 6, 2 times b, which is the outside, which gives us 2b. Inside is a times 3, which is 3a, and then last is a times b, which is ab. And then you can see that underneath, this is going to equal the expansion of 6 plus 2b plus 3a plus ab. So if you wanted to expand this question here, you would end up with the answer below. Now you don't need to write out all of these steps of FOIL. I'm putting them here so that you understand that they're there. It can be good to put some steps in, and maybe drawing arrows would be helpful, but it's up to you how many steps you show. All that we really need is this final answer. For the next one, again, I've put in the steps of FOIL there. We're going to go first, which is 3 times 2a, which gives us 6a. outside, which is 3 times minus 3b. So remember, you need to include this negative when you're expanding, and also this negative will be needed to include. So we've got 3 times minus 3b, which gives us minus 9b. Next, we're going to go for our inside, which is minus b times 2a. So that'll be minus 2ab. And then finally minus b times minus 3b, which gives us 3b squared as our last. And then that expansion equals to this here. An important thing to note while we're on this slide is the questions which have a negative here. When we expand them, it's a very common error not to include the negatives in here. And that will in the end give you an incorrect solution. So you need to, if there's one thing you're looking for when you're doing these questions, is are there any negatives and am I handling them correctly? If you have any questions, please bring them to me. We'll continue working on these in class. Thank you.